So, hello everyone. We are so excited to be with another amazing woman in our space, and we're so delighted to have her. We're speaking today with Delphine Forma, and she is fantastic. If you have been in the crypto compliance space, I'm sure that you know her. She is the head of policy for Europe and UK for Solidus Lab, and it's such an honor to sit down with her and learn from her. So, Delphine, we are so excited to have you today with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super happy to be here and be able to share my insights.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much. So, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit about your journey. I'm really interested to know about your background. Where did you start, and how long you have been in this space?
Oh, yeah, so I've been in the space for quite a while now, I think since beginning of 2018, January. But yeah, previously to that, as you can tell by my accent, I'm French. My background for academic, I did the 2 master degrees in law and in prevention of money laundering and frauds, and also EU criminal business laws. I've done my internship at the day in the Council of Europe, Eurojust, Interpol. I've always been very passionate about human rights. Uh, but, at the time, it was quite difficult to get a job I wanted to work for the European Commission. And as French, we were integrated with new countries. So there was not so many space available for those countries. So I started my career working in a little consultancy. When I joined them, we were 50, and when I left, we were 500. But it was quite challenging because it was a very man-driven environment. And I was very young, I was 24, and I had to meet with clients and do audits, do reporting, talk with the French authorities. And it teach me a lot of things during those 5 years. At one point I was in a board meeting full of men, and when you're very young, it's really hard to make yourself heard as a woman. Um, but yeah, I think we'll talk about the challenges a bit later in the podcast. And then I moved to Japan, actually. Yeah, let's not forget about that. I moved to Japan when I was, I think, 29 or something like that, 29, 30. And I worked in Japan for almost 4 years. And that was also very challenging from being a woman point of view. And I actually loved it there. But, after 4 years, I realized that if I really wanted to have a career, Japan would not be for me. When you're a woman and a foreigner, it's extremely difficult. So I moved to the UK, where I started working in banking. And this is how I got in touch with blockchain technology. When I was working for HSBC, they were experimenting using the blockchain to streamline trade finance operation. And this is how I had my first exposure. I actually heard about Bitcoin back in 2011 when I was in Japan, but I thought it was a bunch of criminals. I went to one meetup and I was like, sure, I can give them my money. But yeah, when I was working in HSBC, the project started in 2016 or 17, and I started reading a book by Michael Casey on the blockchain. And the more I was reading the book, I was like, oh my God, I need to invest. And I started to look for a job in cryptocurrency exchange. And I was lucky to find a job in less than 2 months. So I left HSBC on January 5, 2018. I remember it very vividly because it was a big step, because not only I was changing my job, I was changing countries. I moved from the UK to Switzerland. And at the time, I've never worked in trading before. I was doing compliance for trade finance, not compliance for trading. It was a new asset class, new activity. And I was like, okay, and I'm moving to a new country. If it does not go well, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with myself. And this is how I got into crypto. And I started as head of compliance for the Swiss entity. And after 2 weeks, they were like, you need to be the global head of compliance. We have entities in the Netherlands, Cyprus, the UK, the US. They issue a security token back in the days, and they sold it to the US. So I was extremely busy. I had set up the full compliance program from scratch. But I learned so much, and especially, because I was based in Zug, and at the time, it was the time of the ICOs boom. Uh, there was so many crypto events, so it really allowed me to increase my knowledge because if you want to be good in compliance, you need to understand the product. So I was going to all those events, meeting people, networking, and I really enjoy it. Like this time, was really great. I also become a board member of the Crypto Valley Association. I set up the Open VASP Association back in 2019. And then I moved to crypto miner for a year and a half or something like that. And then I worked for a big crypto exchange, BitMEX, for 2 years. I loved working for them. I was working on global regulatory strategy, licensing, implementing travel rule, which was quite new at the time, working on the training program, listing. It was a great ride. And as you mentioned, I'm head of policy for Solidus Labs, where we provide market surveillance system for crypto asset provider, as well as transaction monitoring and unified case management system. And it's a very busy job because I'm alone in Europe, and my role basically, is to do brand awareness, marketing, speaking in conferences, and evangelize, educate future customer, prospect. Have meetings with customers, speak with the regulator, engage with the regulator in Europe, reply to consultation paper, support the sales. Writing collaterals and regulatory, do regulatory affairs strategy. Very busy, but yeah, it's been a very good journey so far.
Wow, I'm fascinating by your background and experience in the field. Wow, like all the journey that you mentioned, from the time that you moved your comfort from, like France to Japan and then UK, you traveled a lot, and that's really, really good. And I'm sure that, you have gone through so many, challenges in your life and as a woman specifically. And I could resonate with you when you mentioned about like being in a boardroom full of men and you are the only person who is a female and you have to tell them that compliance is important, guys. So I totally can resonate with that. I been in that situation before, and I know that, how tough it could be to stand up and say that, compliance is important to a lot of people who doesn't want to even hear about compliance. So well done to you. Kudos to you. Such an adventure, and I am so interested to learn more about, how everything has been happening for you. And specifically, you have created one of the most engaging Telegram group. Tell us more about that. I know that you have almost around 1,700 members. It's called Crypto Compliance and Legal. And we're gonna put the link of that group as well on the comments. But tell us more about this group and what inspired you, to start that.
So yeah, that's my baby. I'm very, very engaged in it. That's some kind of a passion of mine. But basically, when I started working in crypto in 2018, regulation were, there but not really there. There was a lot of room for interpretation, which is still the case today. And when you work for a crypto business, it's global, right? So you need to be able to keep up with everything that is happening in the world because it will impact your activity in a way or in another. And like sometimes as a compliance officer, you need to take decision on how to interpret certain parts of the law. And I felt very lonely because I would go to the CEO of the company and say, we need to do that. And then in crypto, when you work in compliance in the bank, they always say, yes, of course, let's do it. They don't even think about what you're saying. In crypto, they will always ask you why, and they will always push back. So you need to be always ready to explain why you need to do it. And when it comes to interpreting the law, you can interpret the law in many different ways. So basically, I felt lonely. I started a little WhatsApp group with some friend of mine that were working as chief compliance officer for crypto exchange at the time. And we had this little chat room where we would align on how to reply to the regulator when we were doing licensing application, because we wanted to be seen as a unified voice. And we didn't want it that someone reply X, another one Y, and then you look a little stupid, right? As an industry. So I created the chat group really to enable compliance officer and legal professional to connect and exchange views. And I really also wanted to have like a very supportive environment, because, like when I changed job a few times in crypto, at the end of the day, the policy I have to write are always more or less the same. You just need to adapt to the business. And I know that, some founders will have to pay thousands of money to lawyers for them to provide policies and procedures. Whereas if we are the group where we can exchange knowledge and share resources, then it would be beneficial for everybody. And also I thought, like something that is really important to me, and I always say that, and I think if we still do not have it, is like to be able to speak with a unified voice when we talk with regulators, so that we have a window to impact future regulation or actual regulation. If we do not speak with one voice, well, the regulators, they are just going to do what they want to do, because they will get different messages from the industry, and then they need to find like kind of a middle ground, which is not easy. And the goal of the group was really that. And yeah, I think it's been developing quite well. Everyone has been so collaborative, have great contributors. I really thanks everybody in my group for being so cool. We organized our first like physical meetup in London last week. We did a dinner, we were around 25. And it was so cool, it was such a supportive and cozy environment. Everyone had fun. It was just so nice. I love it. Just like, yeah, I really like it.
That's fantastic. I think I was one of the members who joined very early in the time. When I joined, and I was seeing, from the ground up, like how everyone was engaging, how they are sharing information, and how supportive everyone is, specifically in Europe with MiCA regulation coming in, and a lot of questions and a lot of doubts that is happening. So I see that, everyone is trying to be supportive of each other, like lending thoughts, or, even resources, and also contacts when they need, some other resources, to reach out to. So kudos to you. Well done. It's really difficult, to maintain an engaging kind of group. And I know that you build a community of very engaging folks, not only in Europe. I'm based in North America, so a lot of North American people, I know that, they're a part of your group. And I'm sure that, there are others, in Asia, in the Middle East as well, that are taking part of, being part of your group. Fantastic. Love that. So tell me more about, what inspired you to be in crypto compliance. You mentioned early on you kind of, invested on crypto when you read the book and you started to look around, for opportunities. But why crypto compliance? What was exactly the part that you felt that is kind of interests you more than other things in the compliance world?
Yeah, I mean, like there's two things here. So the first one is, when I was working compliance in banking, I was like, I don't want to be an old compliance officer sitting in a bank where the new world is starting, and I want to be part of that. I was too young for the internet revolution, and I was like, I am not gonna miss that one. So let's go, That was the first thinking, but comply, like, it also come to compliance, right? Crypto is an industry, but the job is something else, right? And the job, as I mentioned before, I've always been a huge advocate for human rights and the fight against financial crime, for enabling people to live in a better world.
Yeah.
Because I think like people always forgot about why we have regulation. Everyone is just so caught up by the job that we all forget about why are we doing something and why there is regulation and why people are working in compliance. It's because we want to live in a better world and we want to stop bad actors, doing bad things. Because at the end of the day, what is money laundering? Money laundering is criminals make profits, so they kill people. There is human trafficking, even drugs, right? People are killed for that. Like, it's not something nice. People, young child are abused, and the money that criminals make out of these activities, they need to launder it, right? And they will launder it through different ways. Many in traditional finance is still like, I think, 98 or 99% is laundered through those channels. But then you also have a part that is laundered through cryptocurrency. And you've seen hack, for instance, by the North Korean. North Korea is a bad actor. They hire hackers to hack exchanges, a big hack of Bybit recently, and then they need to launder the money, right? So compliance for me was a way to try to improve the world. I know it's a very small scale, but I really feel like, I needed to feel I can make an impact. I do not feel like that way every day, but it's very small scale, but this is the why.
That's fabulous. I totally agree with you. If we understand the reason why we do what we do, it's more powerful in terms of what kind of ways on we are thinking about. Even if we are dealing with investigation, if we are dealing with, client onboarding, it doesn't really matter when we know that, the other party, if we are going to think about a victim that it's going to be at the end of the spectrum of what we are doing, if we have that person in our thoughts, that how this is significant, I think it's going to impact everything that we do.
Exactly. So
Yeah, fantastic. Tell us more about the challenges that you have faced. You mentioned a little bit about, your journey being a woman in this space and being in Japan, being in other countries. What were some of the challenges that you faced as a woman in compliance, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I think, like, like the main challenge is to be heard, right? As a woman, men, they, I don't know why, but they don't look at you as a counterpart on the same level as them, right? So that's one challenging that I found it very difficult when I was younger. But I think, with times, actually, I wish I had supportive women helping me understand how I can use my disadvantage at my advantage. But another challenge is that I face mainly, I think that was more when I grew up in my career. So the more I wanted to grow in my career, like going to a managerial level and director level or board member level, especially that was like when I started working in Switzerland, where you will think that Switzerland is not a country where women are at a disadvantage, but that's not true. Like, I think Switzerland is one of the worst countries I've work in as a woman. Here, if you want to go to the top, you will be with old white male and they support each other. And I found it very difficult when I was looking for a job, actually, to last one, because I would compete with old white male. And most of the time, people who were interviewing me were male, and they would go for the old white male who have absolutely no clue about the job. But just because he's a man and he's old and he's white, I will take him. Um, and the way to overcome that is we like that was 3 years ago. Uh, I met with a woman that helped me, right? I was interviewed by a woman, and even if this woman would work in a very male-dominated environment, she would push for me for them to hire me. And I think that was, for me, that was really powerful. I thought, like, this is the way to go. You need to have women supporting you, and this is the best way to overcome those challenges. But also, I think, as a woman, and sadly, we still need to work twice hard as men, and we need to be stronger. And it's very difficult at work. If you want to be heard, you need somehow to behave like a man. And it's not, I find it still very challenging to find this balance.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think women empowering more women is a very, very strong message that you are saying. And I love that because we are in a space that we really need more women supporting other women's. And unfortunately, I see that, like that is not happening. I have, like sometimes I see that, the men allies are more stronger in supporting women than women supporting other women. And I believe that that shouldn't be the case. We should have more strong bond together because we are seeing the same challenges. We are interfacing with all these challenges together. And I believe that, we need to do better. And specifically for our next generation, we need to be examples for them to show them that we need to stick to each other, have our each other's back, and support one another.
And this is why, I decided to be an ambassador for Women in Crypto Association,
Mhm.
um, because we call it the non-mean girl community. And actually, I was skeptical at the beginning, but this is such a supportive community where women are very open-minded and everyone is here to support each other and like in a very, cozy environment. I think it's a great community.
Absolutely. Amanda Wicks had done such an amazing job, creating this association and empowering a lot of women like you, me, and so many others, to be ambassadors of this association to inspire more women and give them the power that, they need to be able to, voice themselves and get them and get heard. I feel that that is the power.
Exactly. And I think like maybe another advice to overcome challenges is to reach out to other women.
Mhm.
Like really do not hesitate to reach out to me or to any woman you kind of admire or you think like because most of the time I think women we are open-minded and we'll be open to have a conversation. And I'm as a when I started my job as a policy officer, I really wanted to have guidance and guidelines from other women because it's different from being compliance officer. And some women in this space have been so supportive. Like I don't know if you know Caroline Malcolm, that Genesis before. And for me, she's just such an example, and she has always been super helpful. So do not hesitate to reach out to women you admire because yes, they have the best advice, I think.
Absolutely. Love that. Thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure that a lot of women love to hear that there are supportive women out there, like yourself, like Carolyn Malcolm, like Amanda Wicks, who are there, to support them. And they're not alone. And we are here to support one another. So that's fantastic. Tell us more, Delphine, about if a new, let's say, a new young person, a new young female who wants to get into crypto compliance, what kind of advice you give them?
So I think advisement number one, and I mentioned it earlier in the podcast, is really if you haven't touch crypto, you need to use application. You need to try to buy crypto. You need to try to transfer crypto. You need to try to use decentralization, centralization, buy NFTs, use decentralized protocol. And because if you don't understand how the technology works, and I think like crypto, if you want to be a good compliance officer, you really need to understand the details and how product work because at the end of the day, you are the one setting up the compliance program and setting up controls in place. And to set up control in place, you need to really understand the product, and this is absolutely key. Like in my previous life, I will never hire anybody that tells me, oh no, I don't have a crypto wallet. I'll be like, okay, well, you want to do crypto compliance. If you don't touch the products, this is not going to work. So that's my advice number one. My advice number two is be creative and stay flexible and agile, and also be very open-minded and be ready to take up a lot of challenges and work on many different topics. Crypto is I mean, it's a very passionate world, but it's also difficult to work in if you're not ready to put the effort. It's 24/7. There is a lot of advantage and disadvantage of working in the space, but you need to be ready to put the effort in and be open-minded and flexible. Because as I said before, we will get a lot of pushback from founders or CEOs on the compliance side, and you need to be ready to explain to them why we need to do X, Y, Z, and you need to be very strong. So stay with your opinion, stay strong. If the law is saying you need to do X, Y, Z, well, there is no debate. This has to be done, and you will need to be very strong in keeping your line, right? And also trying to find allies to support you. And I mentioned before, right, rely on other women that you admire is also like a good tips, and reach out to them. But also something I wanted to mention earlier is related to what I just said, but the crypto industry is a very supportive and open-minded community. Like when I was working in banking and the financial industry before, like, everybody is uptight, everybody has big egos, they're not open to speak. Whereas in the crypto industry, I feel it's very easy to talk with everybody, CEO, board members, C-level people. Everybody is super open-minded and they're very easy to talk to and always happy to share their experience. And so I think this is so as I said, like just speak up and do not hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that. And you're absolutely right. I think the crypto space, they have a very supportive community, from, the creators to the compliance team to tech people. They just ask a question or just get into a group, have a conversation. They are very supportive of, whatever, because everyone knows that this is a new industry and this is a new technology. Everyone is learning together. And I feel that that is the beauty of, being in the crypto space, because as long as, it is new, there is room for error as well. So if you have any doubts, if you want to do a mistake, you would be able, to do that in an environment that everyone is more forgiving and more passionate, and have the compassion to know that this is a new area. Everyone is learning, everyone is educating themselves, and they can grow with the technology, with the information, with all the things that is out there.
Exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. Delphine, we loved the conversation that we have together, and I'm really appreciative of your time. Tell us more of one piece of advice that you would give to anyone who is listening to your words and listening to your story. What would be that one piece of advice that you would love to leave our audience with?
Stay open-minded and find creative solution, and really rely on your peers for advice and guidance. And do not hesitate to speak up. This is super important. Do not hesitate to ask for help. I know that women sometimes we are not that good with that, but do not hesitate to ask for help. And also, last one, I think as a woman, being part of a woman in crypto association, whichever it is, I think is really, really helpful. You will find like amazing connection, and I could not recommend that more for your audience to join a Women in Crypto Association.
Absolutely. Love that piece of advice. And definitely we love all the audience, to be part of the Crypto Association, the Women in Crypto Association. And we are We are definitely gonna put the link to your group as well as the associations group, so that everyone could, learn about that and try to join the membership. Um, well, thank you so much, Delphine, for your time. And we really enjoyed this conversation, and I really appreciate your time for spending with us. Is there anything that we can do as the community, as our listeners, to help and support you?
Well, just join my Telegram group and reach out to me if you need any advice. I'm always happy to speak. I'm very busy, but I always reply at one point, so do not hesitate to reach out.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your openness, for your collaboration, and for giving and reaching arms, to help and support other people who are coming to the crypto compliance space. Really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Sudan. It was my pleasure to be here with you.
Absolutely. Lovely speaking with you. Thank you so much for your time.